What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. It's been a hot minute and I'm sorry about that, but today is gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one. I always want to make sure whenever I am asking you to watch something or I'm putting content out there that it should be valuable, informative, helpful and definitely worth your time. And let me tell you, this one is gonna be a good one. So today what I want to do is chat to you all about my legs, my glutes and everything from there down, because I have been on one hell of a journey with my legs and I finally feel like I'm at that point where I've got a good recipe down. So I want to just share some of my experiences, what's worked, what hasn't worked, diet, nutrition, training, everything. So let's go. Okay, so before I get into anything in terms of nutrition and training, I just want to give you like a really quick background check, because I think it's important to give you the context of where I've kind of started from and just that whole like evolution of my legs, because I think everyone has different starting points and I know sometimes it can be really helpful to kind of relate to where somebody started at if they were kind of in a similar point to you. So my proper kind of fitness journey started at the beginning of last year, so just over 18 months ago. Now before that I was literally a fads, quick fixes, shitty diets, shitty training, feeling shit about myself kind of gal. And I found weight training, I found a macro-based approach to nutrition, and in honesty, completely changed my life, changed my lifestyle, and everything in between those two things. Now, I was never a skinny gal growing up. I always kind of struggled a little bit with my weight in my childhood, teenage years, and all of that stuff. I was just kind of a bit chubby. I don't know how else to say it. There's nothing wrong with that, and there was nothing wrong with how I looked, but there was everything wrong in how I trained, how I treated myself, and just my approach to health and fitness in general. I was definitely not one that was blessed with the athletic gene. I don't know how that missed me, but I was not blessed with it one single bit. So I definitely had to work hard to get to a point where I have, and it was kind of a whole lifestyle change and loads of other factors that came into play, which I'm going to chat through in full detail. I have done separate videos where I have chatted through my fitness journey in general. I don't want to bog this entire video down with all of the nitty-gritty details, so I'm going to try and keep it top line, helpful, informative, give you the bigger picture, but also just keep it specific to legs and the booty, because that's what we're talking about today. So at the beginning of last year, I started my first proper weight training program. So I was literally kind of like my first real proper strength-based program. I was using progressive overload for the first time. I was focusing on heavy compound lifts and really just mastering those basics. So things like your squats, your deadlifts, your military press, trying my first chin-ups, hip thrusts, all of those things were at the beginning and at the forefront of all of my training. And I just really focused on mastering them, progressing the load I was lifting with them. I, like I said, started my first take on a macro-based approach to nutrition, and yeah, basically figured out my macros, was eating in a calorie deficit, so that meant I was eating slightly less than what my body was burning. For me, last year, that was around 1600 calories. I'm just saying that because everyone always asks in the comments what it was, so that's what it was. Completely unique to me, and in honesty, retrospectively, a little too low for me. But I was learning, I was figuring things out, and I was just giving it a good go. But the changes were big, they were major, and they happened pretty quickly for me, because I finally felt like I hit that clicking point where I was doing a lot of right things and they were all kind of coming together. I was being consistent with my training, consistent with my nutrition, and I was just feeling good, and that all together created a great transformation. That being said, towards the end of last year, I definitely reached the point where I was feeling pretty small. I had lost a lot of body fat. I had completely transformed my physique. My legs were suddenly tiny. Like, I had never had kind of small legs, but my legs definitely went pretty small. I was very lean, but happy and content and all this stuff. But I reached that point where I really wanted to grow. Your gal really needed to grow. I wanted to work on my legs, and I knew that to do that, I had to fuel them and I had to grow them. it wasn't a result of shrinking them. It was a result of I knew that I needed to make them stronger. So I reached out to Jack. Now, if you don't know, Jack has been coaching me since January. He has coached me through this kind of lean bulking phase, which I'm going to chat through in this video. But I just wanted to say that I think that sometimes fitness influencers or those types of gals can have a bit of a kind of expectation that you need to have it all figured out, you need to be doing it all yourself. I think there's actually something really, really great in holding your hand up and saying, I want to learn and I want to work with somebody who is amazing, knows their shit, and can help teach me even more shit. So that is what Jack has done for me, and I think it is a great thing to be coached, to learn from other coaches, to experience, and to just be on that kind of receiving end of getting advice and applying it into your life. So when it comes to diet, like I said, I'd reached that point where I knew that I really, really wanted and needed to grow if I wanted to see the kind of development that I wanted to see in my leg muscles, my leg strength, my leg look, all of that stuff. So that meant being in a slight calorie surplus. That basically means that instead of trying to eat slightly less than what my body was burning, which was a calorie deficit like I was last year, I wanted to be eating slightly more than what my body was burning. So effectively, I'm slowly gaining weight and slowly gaining muscle at the same time. So to do that, I did have a reverse dieting phase in between the two, which kind of acted as a transition point and was actually the first point that I worked with Jack. So we started at around my 1600 calorie mark, and gradually over the next kind of 4 to 8 weeks, slowly bumped my calories up week on week on week, and was just monitoring things like how I was responding, how my weight was responding, and just making decisions based on that. It was really slow, really controlled, and I actually went for the first couple of weeks adding food in and building calories up without my weight moving one single bit, which is madness. But I basically reached the point where my weight was slowly starting to creep up, and that obviously meant I was in now a surplus, so I was slowly gaining weight. Now, we're not talking crazy amounts, we're literally talking between ½ pound and 1.5 pounds a week. Tiny little creeps up, but all progress, and all progress in the right direction. So step number one of kind of this transformation has definitely been being in a slight calorie surplus, which has allowed my muscles to grow, my legs to get stronger, my lifts to get stronger, and just to really give my body the fuel it needs to grow. Right, moving on to training. Now, there are some major movements that have been a game changer in my leg and glute development, and what I want to do is show you guys some of those movements and just chat through why they have changed my life and the life of my legs. When it comes to kind of training frequency, I train legs twice a week. Now that is because it leaves me enough time to recover adequately between the two sessions. And in honesty, if you're training them hard and you're training them heavy, you're gonna struggle to do that more than 2 or 3 times a week. It should be tough. You should need the rest and recovery between the sessions. So when it comes to the training itself, it has all been focused still on mastering those basics, progressively overloading them over time, and just training them well with focus and hard. No fanning around in the gym doing like legs and booty every single day. Just focusing on training them hard, training them heavy, and training them with the right structure and approach. So I'm going to show you some of my favorite exercises that I genuinely think have changed my life. Okay, so every single leg day always starts with glute activation. It is completely and utterly non-negotiable. It has to happen. And it's up there with one of the most game-changing things that I've added into my routine, which has massively transformed my legs and the peach. So for glute activation, I'm basically using a thick resistance band. The fabric ones are so much better. Don't waste your time on the rubber ones. Honestly, no one has got time for that in their life. Invest in a good thick rubber one. Get some different strengths. I've got medium and heavy. I think I even have a light one, but I never really use it. You'll be sorted. So basically the point of this activation phase is to really wake my glutes up, Get them to join the party, come on in, let's go train, wake the fuck up, basically, is what this is supposed to do. Now, there are loads of different exercises that you can do. I will show you guys somewhere over here some of my favorites that I kind of throw and mix between. But basically the goal of what you're trying to do is you're not trying to burn them out or fail them or go super, super hard and heavy. You're just trying to engage them and get them going. So have a play with different movement patterns. You can do abductions, you can do glute bridges, you can do kickback variations. There are so many different ones to try, but literally just having one of these guys to hand will activate the fuck out of your glutes. Let's just say that. Okay, so moving on to the workout itself, I'm going to show you a very more glute dominant leg day. That is definitely one that you can have a go at. It is very glute specific, and yeah, that's mainly because glutes has been my biggest working point. I feel like it is the thing that I wanted to work on the most and just really get strong, develop, and all of the above. So my main compound lift is hip thrust when it comes to the glutes. It is the big daddy, the big dog, the king of glutes, and there are so many different variations of how you can perform this. For me personally, right here, I'm using a resistance band and I'm basically doing it as a hip thrust and abduction complex. So this is absolutely gross. Like, I am not over exaggerating. If you've tried hip thrust before, try this because it will set your bottom on fire. Like, no joke. So basically what I am doing is I'm doing 5 reps of the hip thrust. Then at the top of that 5th rep, I am doing 5 abductions with the band. Then I'm doing 4 and 4, 3 and 3, 2 and 2, 1 and 1. That is one set. So these are very tough. Now, there are all sorts of other hip thrust variations that I do. Standard hip thrusts, things where I'm using pulses or 1.5 rep, but basically just hip thrusts as an exercise needs to be on your leg day. Next up, we have the Smith machine split squats. Now, again, there are lots of different variations that you can do with this. You can do them as Bulgarian split squats, where you have your foot on a bench and you're using dumbbells. You can do dumbbells and your foot on the floor. You can do a barbell. There are loads of different variations. I personally love doing these in the Smith machine just because I feel like I get a really good tension in my muscle because it's just really easy to kind of load it and just smash them out. So you can make these more quad and glute dominant depending on your foot placement. So have a play if you're trying to work your quads more or your glutes more, but this exercise is a killer. So do not underestimate this guy. Next up, we have the frog stance glute bridges. Now, again, this is one which looks easy. It's not. It is not an easy one. And again, it's a slightly different variation of a glute bridge just by adjusting your foot placement to a frog stance, which is where you have the soles of your feet together. Let me tell you, this one hurts. I am using a dumbbell across my lap, but you can do this just as body weight or with a light dumbbell like I'm doing. But basically you are trying to drive your hips up like a normal glute bridge, really squeezing those glutes at the top, coming back down and just repeating that. Next up, we have the abduction machine. Now, I'm doing these hovering because personally for me, I find that when I hover, I get much better targeting in my glutes than when I'm seated. I feel like I tend to push more from my hips than from my glutes. I don't know if that makes sense, but definitely have a play with either seated or hovering to see which one kind of works or feels best for you. But these are a killer. You can load them pretty heavy and be quite confident in doing that. But these absolutely burn and always form some part of my glute days because they're just great. They're hitting the booty right where it hurts. Okay, last up, my leg days and booty days nearly always finish with some kind of burnout. I will go back to something like those banded exercises you saw me doing at my activation, But instead of doing them to warm up my muscles, I'm doing them to burn them out. Get as much blood as possible rushing into the muscles and just really set them on fire. So here you can see me doing them as abductions with my thick hip circle again. I love, love, love finishing leg days with these. They're a great way to finish. They're a great give it your all for the last 2 minutes of the workout kind of vibe, and I'm here for it. Right guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video talking all about my legs and my booty, and I hope it has been helpful and informative. I've wanted to make it for a long time, but wanted it to come across in the most helpful and informative and personal experience sharing way, because I feel like that's the most helpful for you guys. So if you did like it, please like and subscribe because it supports my channel, and make sure you come and check me out on Instagram too, because I share stuff over there every single day.